SABC News presentation.
Good evening and a very warm welcome on this chilly Joburg day. Welcome to Interface. My name is Desiree Jauke. I'm sitting in for Mashatile, who's out tonight. But South Africa's heritage is the new gold. That's according to the Arts and Culture Minister, Paul Mashatile. Ahead of Heritage Day this Tuesday, the minister is calling on South Africans to reclaim and restore South Africa's rich heritage. It's been a long journey since 1994, and the department runs many parallel programs in an effort to refine this space. Most of all, the Arts and Culture Minister wants the arts to be transformed into a sustainable economy. Is this achievable? You tell us. What are some of the challenges facing artists and the arts and culture industry? Mr. Mashatile is our guest tonight. He'll be joined by Roux, who is the chairman of the Arterial Network of South Africa, as well as managing director of SAMRO Foundation. And later on in the show, we'll be joined by Kid Sitole. You all know him. He's a renowned artist in the country, from Creative Workers Union, to give us his thoughts on the discussion. But before we get into it, let's have a look at this insert compiled by Interface producer Rosalia Whitehead.
Section 16(1) of the Constitution states that everyone has the right to freedom of expression, including freedom of artistic creativity. But for artists and those in the cultural and creative industries, this right means nothing if it cannot be translated into meaningful employment and participation in the economy. The Department of Arts and Culture's revised white paper on arts, culture and heritage recognizes this challenge and acknowledges the role of this industry in growing the economy. Cultural and creative industries globally have been identified as another way to contribute to the economy and can thus be considered an economic sector in addition to its traditional social development role. This is what the Minister of Arts and Culture, Paul Mashatile, seeks to achieve through his Mzansi Golden Economy. The project was launched in 2011 following artists' complaints about a lack of job opportunities and unfair practices that rendered artists poor and unable to make a living. As part of the Mzansi Golden Economy, tens of thousands of jobs will be created through the rolling out of 28 heritage projects to pay tribute to struggle heroes. The department has identified a number of high-impact programs targeting youth and women in the arts. But are these projects sustainable? Mashatile says the revised white paper seeks to align his department's goal to the National Development Plan aimed at addressing unemployment, poverty and inequality. Among other issues, the white paper proposes that funding for the arts should be administered by one body. Currently, funding for the arts is channeled through the National Lotteries Board, the National Arts Council, the National Film and Video Foundation, and Business Arts South Africa. But will the new structure provide answers to problems such as management and the absence of requisite skills? Artistic Director and Executive Director of the African Arts Institute, Mike van Graan, says the white paper doesn't spell out a vision for the arts, culture and heritage sector. He says the document focuses on the political imperative to create jobs for 5 million people over 10 years. Van Graan says because creative industries tend to employ educated and relatively skilled people, the undereducated, underskilled and poor are less likely to be employed. He has also questioned the timing of the white paper, which he says comes at the end of the term for Minister Mashatile and could change when the new minister comes in. While the arts community was invited to make submissions to the white paper, time was very limited. The paper will be sent to Cabinet before the end of the year. South Africa's creative and cultural sector remains a vibrant space for artistic expression. Our artists continue to show their passion and innovation and simply do it for the love of it.
Now, our SMS line is 33726, or you could talk to us on Interface on SABC3. That's our Facebook page. And let's thank Rosalia there for a fantastic insight. It gives us food for thought as we get into our discussion. If you've just joined us, our guest tonight is the Arts and Culture Minister, Paul Mashatile. We have Andre Roux, who's the chairman of the Arterial Network of South Africa and SAMRO Foundation Managing Director, as well as Mashatile from the Creative Workers Union, who will be joining us much later on in the program. Our discussion tonight, some of the challenges facing the arts and culture industry and what is being done to address some of these. Let's get into the discussion. Minister, thank you so much for taking the time to come and join us this evening. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Des.
And welcome to you, Mr. Roux.
Thank you.
Before we get into our discussion proper, perhaps just an update from you, Minister. Everybody waiting in anticipation at the headlines that there might be a slight chance that Mbuyisa Makubo could be in Ghana and that your department is in charge of that process. Please give us an update.
Thank you very much, Desiree. At this moment, we are still undergoing a process of checking. We got information that he might in fact be in Canada, and we have sent people out there to work with the Canadians to verify. But obviously this also required the family to get involved. You know, there are issues of DNA tests, but also for the family to be able to identify if indeed it is him. So we are talking with the authorities there, and that might entail that whoever this person is brought to South Africa. But our preference was to confirm everything whilst he's still out there. But it might be a costly exercise to take over the family down there. So we are also getting pictures, sharing them with the family, because it's been a separation of more than 40 years. And you know, when he left, he was 17. So it's a bit of a process that we're undergoing. So once we have confirmation, we'll be able to brief the nation.
And I'm sure we'll be waiting with anticipation, as this is of national interest. Definitely. 20 years down since democracy. What are your thoughts about the gains in terms of arts and culture, especially in relation to this month and Tuesday, Heritage Day?
Well, September is Heritage Month, so it's a month in which South Africans should really use to celebrate our heritage. We will have activities throughout the country, but the big day obviously is Tuesday. As government, we have activities in the Eastern Cape, in Mdantsane, but we know that throughout the country there will be activities. Various MECs are also organizing. But the main activities is the Eastern Cape, where I will be with the Deputy President. So it's a very interesting period for us. And as you said, we are saying to South Africans, please reclaim, restore and celebrate our heritage. So I want to see everybody getting involved.
We also have Andre Roux here from the Arterial Network, but also from SAMRO, and we're going to be bringing him into the discussion in a short while. But our heritage goes beyond, and I know we use music and art to describe heritage, but it goes beyond that, doesn't it?
Yes, most definitely. You know, heritage is everything that affects our lives, basically. So you can talk of music, you can talk of visual art, but you know, we have rivers, we have mountains, we have things that we create through science, traditional cultures. All these are our heritage. Yes, that's why we have sometimes what we call heritage buildings. So all these are our heritage. They define who we are as a people, and that's why we are saying we need to reclaim that space, we need to restore. But even what is more important for me is that we must work towards creating shared values as a nation. We might have different traditions, etc., but it's important
a big
that
project of social cohesion.
Yes, when we build one nation. It's important to create shared values. So social cohesion and nation building assist us to go in that direction, to create a South Africa that all of us can feel we belong to it.
Well, you're watching Interface, and those are the opening thoughts from the Minister of Arts and Culture, Minister Paul Mashatile. We're going to take a break. Join us later on when we bring Andre Roux into the discussion, and we continue to talk about heritage in South Africa. Welcome back. Tonight on Interface, we're discussing the Department of Arts and Culture's efforts to transform the sector and make it profitable and accessible. And our studio guests, Minister of the Arts and Culture, Minister Paul Mashatile, and we also have Andre Roux from the Material Network, and also the Managing Director of SAMRO. Minister, just in your continued efforts to define the arts and culture, you're now in a process of public consultations, your second stage.
Yes.
There's been a lot of outcry, especially from stakeholders, of non-inclusion in the process or non-consultation, especially with the people who may help to define policy, taking the arts and culture forward. What are your thoughts?
Well, so far, Desiree, we have done a few consultations. There was one big one in Johannesburg, and we then moved to Durban just 2 weeks ago. We're in Cape Town. So we are trying to make sure that we get as many inputs as possible, so that by the time we conclude the process and take it to the cabinet, we have these inputs on board. And I'm sure Andre will indicate that they have been participating in this process. They've made submissions, and there are many other people.
We can't disregard the parties that feel excluded, though, can we?
No, not at all. But what we will do, if there's still somebody who feels they didn't have the opportunity to make an input, when we get to Parliament, there will be a public participation process once more. The portfolio committee will call people to participate, make comments, so the doors are not closed.
Andre, let's bring you in here, but before going into the white paper, there's also, SAMRO is also a transforming organization. Let's just remind our viewers who SAMRO is, what it does, and its new roles and perhaps divisions within SAMRO.
SAMRO is a 50-year-old organization, so one could say we're quite mature. We started in 1961, and our main job, I usually describe us in masculine and feminine. On the masculine side, what we do is protect the rights of composers.
You must watch it now.
I'm at the SABC.
And women out there watching.
We protect the rights of composers. And as a masculine organization, you're the protector, and we've done that for quite a long time. And it's very important that not only are the rights protected, but they're exploited in a positive way. Because you need to generate an income. You need to generate revenue for your creative goods. And that's what we've been doing for a very long time, independent of the state. Because sometimes people think we're one of the ministry's agencies. We're independent. We're linked to over 200 collection societies across the globe. And we've been ranked in the top 5 of collection societies in the world. That's what we do on the masculine side. On the feminine side, which is the good side, by the way.
Hopefully.
On the feminine side, we started in 1961, but in 1962 we gave our first overseas scholarship. So we've given 66 overseas scholarships since 1962, 1,749 bursaries since the 1980s. We fund 35 music schools. And we've done over 400 commissions of new works. So not only do we protect and support and promote that composers and creators get revenue for their works, but we also make sure that we invest. And we've been doing that in a very real way.
We're not going to go into why Andre is gender streaming the responsibilities of SAMRO, because that's a discussion for another day. But what has been your role in the development of the white paper and perhaps your submissions?
Our role in the development of the white paper, and here I've got to wear my arterial network hat. We only had 2 problems with the development of the white paper. The one was the process and the other one was the content. Now, the process initially was not a great process. The process happened too quickly. The consultation in Johannesburg was put together at short notice and not many people knew. Now, it's very difficult to consult the entire country, but word got out there in a very limited way. And that, I think that left a bad taste in the mouths of many people who wanted to input on this that becomes the Bible, the policy that dictates where the arts are going. And it cuts across so many things we do. So many arts organizations were not happy. But credit to the minister, we were angry at the meeting, and the minister then decided to do consultations, public consultations. We wrote submissions. So when it comes to the content, there are challenges in relation to the content. And it's quite clear, and you have also got to tread carefully.
But what would the editorial network like to see happening? What's the content of your submissions?
What we would like to see happening is that the paper gets written in a way that brings on board a range of different areas. The paper talks about the economics of culture, and it talks very strongly about the economics of culture, and that's a good thing. The creative economy is very important, but that's not all that the arts is. The arts are important to society. The arts are important on their own for artistic and creative development. The earliest paintings by humans are found in South Africa. Musical instruments, the language, the creation, the technology relates to human development, relates to the arts. So for us, the white paper stands primarily on the economic leg. It doesn't stand with enough footing on the social development leg. It's mentioned, but not with enough footing. It also doesn't stand very well in terms of artistic and cultural development. There are also other areas, the funding system and the centralization of funding. We're not that in agreement with the centralization of funding, because there's a range of funding bodies like the National Arts Council, the NFEF and all of those. And what we believe is that many of the institutions need to be audited. We need to see, before we decide to collapse them together, before we decide to collapse the funds, there needs to be an adequate audit as to why they have worked and why they have not worked. Some have worked, many have not worked. Some have clean audits, many do not have clean audits. Some have good administration in place and some don't. So for us, we don't think the doctor has analyzed the symptoms as to the cause and the reasons before we decide to embark on the new process of the white paper.
Well, Andre, you talk about the economics of culture, and I think that's precisely what the minister seeks to achieve through the golden economy. But that is a discussion we will embark on immediately after the break. Just for now, Minister, in response, is there any intention to merge the different agencies?
Our view is that there's a lot of funding taking place in different agencies, and that has not been very effective, and therefore we are advocating the creation of a fund that will then disperse funding equitably to various organizations. It's something that we have proposed in the white paper. We are engaging. We did receive the input from Arterial Network. We are looking at it, but all of us agree that we need to do something about funding in the sector. There is no disagreement.
And
I think the question is how we will pull that together. And our view was a creative industries fund, and other people, as Andrew was saying, maybe look at the deficiencies in some of those agencies and see if you can correct them. But my view is that even if we do that, we should avoid too many funding agencies out there. Is not effective.
Which is the general concern out there.
Yes.
So as you hear, it is under discussion. We'll be back after this break. Remember, you may join us in this conversation. Comment on our Facebook page, Interface on SABC3, or send a text message to 33727. What we've received so far, Lady D. Letso Lesiba Mejani, saying we feel that there are no opportunities for us. There is no funding for us in this sector. We never get bursaries and learnerships, and because of this, parents don't take this sector seriously and don't want to take their kids, or rather encourage their kids to go into this field. Is that your sense? Talk to us. We're going to a break now. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome to the program once more. This is Interface on SABC 3. Our guests this evening, Minister Paul Mashatile from the Department of Arts and Culture, and also renowned artist Kid Sithole, who is the president of the Creative Workers Union, and also Andre Roux, who is the chairman of the Arterial Network of South Africa, as well as the managing director of SAMRO Foundation. Mr. Sithole, let's welcome you into the discussion. Thank you so much for making the time to come through to the show. The Creative Workers Union, your thoughts as we get into Heritage Month, and just in terms of 20 years down, liberation route, are we achieving the kind of things we set out to achieve when the union started?
Well, let me quickly say, because usually time is not on our side when we're here, I just want to remind people out there that there is more to heritage than this very naughty thought of just frying meat. Frying meat is just but one part of the things we do. It's not supposed to be called the National Heritage Day. This is a very important day. It's a day on which not only are we celebrating our heritage, our way of life, as the minister said, but this is a day when the unifier of the Nguni nation was born. Those are the things we should be keeping, our Pungubes, our Freedom Park visits, our museum visits. Those are the kinds of things.
There's got to be something to say, though, for acknowledging diversity in South Africa and people trying to find new ways of recognizing. You bring in the past, but also incorporate the future.
Finding new ways of doing things does not mean sinking the majority's view of who they are. That's very dangerous. Actually, it's close to distorting who we are. It's closer to an insult. But because we don't have time,
from
let
the
me quickly say
Creative
what
Workers
we've
Union
done.
point of view,
Yeah.
what are you doing to get that message across?
No, but let the business people out there come forward. We can tell those stories like yesterday. We have no problem in doing that. But you have asked something that says in the many years, 20 years now, what has been happening. Many people out there know what our issues are, and I'm glad to say the minister is here. He will actually restate to say what we are now doing. Is that we have sat down with the minister, we have agreed there are challenges. First, of course, it was an omission that in the whole process, maybe they're still coming, that organized labor in the name of Creative Workers Union should not be part and parcel of the writing of that white paper.
Minister, why was the Creative Workers Union excluded?
It was probably not intentional, because when the meetings were called, we did say that...
They're an important stakeholder.
Yes, they must call everybody. But the process is not closed, so we will be able to have a discussion, as Keith is saying.
And we'll have no problem in deploying someone there. But the other things that have happened in terms of progress is that we have now realized that it is very important, and the minister and the union have agreed that the union is going to be leading a process that we are going to be calling the unification of the industry. And in that process, already SAMRO is on board, already ECO is on board.
Mr. Sithole, you did say we are time-bound. Minister, just to wrap up, what happens on Tuesday and what can the nation look forward to?
I just want to add on what Keith was saying, that it's okay if people go and have their braais, but Tuesday is not a National Braai Day, it's National Heritage Day. But they can braai, they can sing their songs and dance. We will be in Mdantsane on Tuesday with the Deputy President or the Acting President, Mr. Khalima Mutante, and we will celebrate there with people in the Eastern Cape. But everybody, everywhere, please celebrate.
I suppose it's true what they say, time flies when you're having fun. But thank you so much to our guests for tonight, Minister Paul Mashatile, Andre Roux, who wanted to throw in a word there, but we've really run out of time. But thank you so much for coming through, and to Mr. Kid Sithole. That's our program for this week, and from me, Desiree Chauke, it's been fantastic. Tembisa joins you again next week. Ciao, ciao.